Hi everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode of Self-Made Abroad podcast. My name is Stefan Stosic, and in today's podcast episode we're going to be talking of another experience of a girl coming originally from Ukraine and living in Berlin at the moment. Her name is Marianna Shults. Marianna, hi and welcome to Self-Made Abroad podcast.
Thank you for having me here. Let me introduce me. I'm Marianna Shults and I'm 31 years old. I came to Germany in 2017 to study my master in Master of Arts in Interactive Information Design. The university is based in Kiel, northern Germany. Last summer, I moved to Berlin.
Thank you for a short introduction. And so I would like to, in this podcast episode, to hear about your experience and that you share your advices to audience who is listening or watching to this podcast episode, what are your inner triggers or motivation to actually move abroad. But until we get to this point and your life nowadays, I would just first like to go some years back and then actually, so you are coming originally from Ukraine and in 2017 you moved abroad for your studies.
Yes.
So let's say before that it was for master's or bachelor or?
It was master.
Okay, so your bachelor you finished in Ukraine, right? In your home country?
Yes, I finished bachelor and master too in Ukraine.
Yeah.
But it was like a wish of my parents that I could move abroad for study, for example, and that it was pretty interesting idea for me as well. So I decided to make another master.
It comes like from wish of your parents, but
Yeah.
was it as also your wish? Were you afraid, or was it aligned, let's say, with this vision that your parents had for you, and they were trying to make it possible for you, financial-wise or possibility-wise, whatever? Was it the same, or you were just following the wishes of your parents?
I would say like some kind of both, because back at that time I was 24 and I'm a person who like changes, and I spent my whole life 24 years in Ukraine, in Odessa, and it was kind of boring for me. I used to have even the relationships, long relationships, but I had a desire to move abroad, to experience something different, to experience more. And this was like a match with the wish of my parents that I could study abroad. Mm-hmm. This was on one hand. On other hand, the wish of my mother was that I moved to Germany, that I study in Germany. And back in that time, I hadn't even a thought that it could be a different country. Like now I think, okay, maybe I could choose a different country, not Germany. But back in that time, it was like Germany, okay, let's learn language. And then I learned the language like 2 years long before I came here, because my master degree was in German.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a big step, I would say, because usually masters in Germany are really strict when it comes to requirements and C1 level, I guess, of German. So then it's a tough preparation actually for this stage of life.
It was like a C1 level that you have to have in order to have master, to study your master. And it was not easy, but I liked it. I liked the language, and it was very interesting to learn the language. And then I had to pass the DAF test. Yes. It's kind of IELTS in English, but DAF in German. And I haven't passed it for the first time. And then I have to study more, to learn more in order to pass it in the second time.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because it's a huge, challenge, I would say. And then especially if, could go like if you are aware of your wish that you want to study abroad earlier, you know the country, you know the language that you are going to be studying in, and then you have time to prepare. But most of the students that even consider opportunity of studying abroad as possibility or opportunity for them, and then it's kind of in rush, let's say the last year of bachelor, and then they start thinking what could be the next step. This was my case, and then it was kind of under the rush, and then it's okay, so what do I do? Like, do I have enough time to pass all my exams in the current year and then study for the language exam? And
but there is always the opportunity to not to do it in the rush. It wasn't in the rush for me, because my master degree in Ukraine, I ended it, I had it already, and I was working the full time. And then I learned the language. And my wish was to get the scholarship, learn language, get the scholarship, and come to Germany. And I had a big desire in this wish, but I didn't pass the exam for the first time, and I didn't get the scholarship. So I was like kind of a bit, okay, so it will not happen. Like Of course, I will learn more and then I will pass the exam, but I didn't get the scholarship back in that time, and I was not sure if my parents could financially support me coming here. But then my mom said like, okay, we have money for the first year. Back in that time, it was like 8,000 euro that you have to had in your bank account to come here.
Yes.
And yes, I had that luck that my parents gave me that money for the first year. But the main point was I didn't make it in the rush. So it was like a acceptance that probably I couldn't do it, or maybe I can do it later. I can learn, I have time to learn language. I have time to, I don't know,
Yeah.
apply to other scholarship.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting for me because for me it was the opposite, and then it's really nice to hear this experience that someone did it without so much anxiety and so much negative thinking about, okay, I must to do it or I have to do it or whatever. So it's really nice to hear this. And one thing that you mentioned, that it's kind of an obstacle for international students coming to Germany, non-EU students that need to apply for visa and then later student permit, is the amount of money that you need to have nowadays. It's around 9 or 10,000 euros that you need to have on your bank account. And when it means my parents gave me 8,000 euros, doesn't mean that, just for the audience, that they gave me today and then I need to have it or spend it. It's just to have them as financial resources on your bank account, that you can get a balance sheet of your bank account to give to embassy, so they can confirm that you are able to sustain yourself in a foreign country such as Germany.
They even restrict your spendings monthly.
Yeah, with the blocked account.
Yes, you can spend only like 800 euro per month.
Yeah.
So they want to make sure you have the money for living here. You will not like begging on the streets or like that.
Okay, and let's say just the one point is really important for me, and going back to this desire, the vision that your parents had for you, and that it was in alignment with your wish to experience more, see further, see more. So let's say, so you come from Ukraine and you are living with your family there. So what the studies abroad meant for your family? Let's say you should or you could go abroad and then it's a good opportunity for your development, or what kind of vision, like when you think as a girl living in Ukraine or your family, okay, we have a daughter and she's studying here and she finished her bachelor and master, but still it would be nicer that she has this international experience. So when you say or when you think of studies abroad, what kind of perception of studies abroad come to your mind or your parents' mind, so they had this vision for you?
Yeah, I think it depends on the generation. My parents were like older generation, and they experienced a lot of bad things during their life, and I think they wanted a better future for me, kind of like that. I was pretty happy living in Ukraine, and I know a lot of people who come back to Ukraine now, but back in that time when they wanted me to come to Germany, it was wish for me to have a better life, kind of like that. And for me, it was a cool experience. I just wanted to move to another country, to see more, to learn more.
The reason why I ask you this is that beginning of 20s or to mid 20s for students, for us young people, is exciting. It's an adventure. And our parents, in their mind, they have that it's better opportunity, when it comes to maybe materialistic life or resources, or it comes with the economic aspect of that. So it's for me, it's important, and also to give to the audience, because usually as young people, we see adventure, we see new connections, visiting and traveling, new places, new countries, new cities, studying or learning new language. So I would say that financial resource as a materialistic or safety comes like really not among first reasons, which is different to our parents' vision. That's why I ask you this, and I think it's nice to point out and then see that because we come from different countries, we have similar language, Slavic language, but it's interesting to compare my experience and just to see how other family in another country thinks. And I think it's something similar that among families of people in different countries. When you took this step and you needed, so let's say your parents had this vision for you, then you aligned with that. Okay, I'm excited and want to experience more. What was the first step that you needed? Because I guess there was zero knowledge about your next step. And can you recall when was this moment? Okay, this is my next step. So I need to study the language, but then you needed to know that you need to have C1 level and what kind of certificate you need to have. So can you describe how was the step-by-step approach for you to make a decision and get enrolled in at some German university?
I think it wasn't like step by step. It was like
Exactly,
this.
like more like yes.
Yeah, because you don't know anything about what you have to do.
Exactly.
There are a lot of companies that offer you the service that they will do everything for you and you will just come to Germany to study, just learn language and come. But it was not like an option for me. So yes, I started to learn German and started to looking for the universities. There are a website of with the list of the universities in Germany, and I also knew that I want to study design. I studied design back in Ukraine and I wanted to do it here in Germany too. And then I started to looking for the universities that I like, that I could apply to. It was pretty easy because design is something visual, and when I take a look at the works of the students, I say, okay, I like it, I don't like it. But it was very hard for me to collect all this information of what is all requirements of the university to apply, like all documents and everything that you have to know, all documents that you have to collect and send, because my language was not good back in that time, and even with B2 it was like a very big struggle to understand everything on the websites. I remember this was the main struggle, that it was hard to understand for me. Yeah. What they want, and all universities had different requirements, and besides the documents, the designer, I have to create a portfolio for them. Yes, and the requirements for portfolio was very different. It was like if your university wanted to have it on a CD, like on a CD, what? Yeah, some of them wanted to have it printed, and yeah, it was pretty hard
to manage around, like, and see different criteria. And just one point is important. When you said there is a list of universities in Germany, and then to see which university you like, could you define which university you like? Does it mean the city? What were your criteria? Was it the study program? What you're going to be learning about? What kind of subjects you're going to be attending? What kind of diploma recognition that university has? Could you define which university I like?
Yeah, in the first line it was the program itself, if I like the subjects,
yes,
and if I like the works of the students, I would say. The city was in the second place. Yeah, and I think recognition is pretty similar to all the universities. But there was one, like I applied for 5 programs and I got invitation for 4, I think, or for 3. And 2 of them was very interesting for me. And one of them located in Baden-Württemberg. And that was the first year they introduced the fee for the non-EU students. It was like 1,000 euro a semester, I think. I think so, yeah. It was like extra, or a year or a month, I don't remember. But it was like a extra money on top, and I I haven't the possibility to pay for that, because I didn't know if I will get job so soon to pay for this. That's why, like, choosing between 2 programs that I liked, I've chosen the other one.
Yes. Yeah, this is another obstacle that Germany is still okay with that when it comes to, I call it discriminatory prices and fees. And because like in some countries such as Sweden, for example, or the Netherlands, there are a lot of universities, or most of the universities ask for extra fee for non-EU students. And I remember back at the time in 2018 how mad I was. And then it's like another thing that people should pay attention to, or to align their possibilities and wishes with the financial resources. How long it took you, because before starting that and then from figure it out that actually this is your next step, that you would like to start your master abroad, you learn the language, how long it took you from making that decision, okay, this is what I want, because you said that you already worked, you finished your master, and then till the moment you actually got admitted and then you started your studies, or you moved from Ukraine to Germany, how long it took you then?
It's a good question. I think almost 3 years.
Okay.
So
So
it
you were
wasn't in a rush at
really,
all.
yeah. So you were really persistent, and then actually having that goal for extended period of time, and you don't give up on the way.
Yes, of course, it was like ups and downs, of course. Yeah, it was definitely a lot of hesitation if I can make it or not, especially when I haven't passed my exam, my language exam, or when I didn't get the scholarship. It was like downs, and of course, I was worrying if it's possible at all to come here, to study here. Um, yeah, but I think the main thing, you shouldn't be too focused. Like, yes, this is the goal I wanted, but don't give you this time limitation, I would say, because something couldn't work out on that moment that you wish. It could work out a bit later. So it's fine to extend this path. You
Okay.
couldn't influence it. You can do everything that's possible from your side, but there is like a universe that's
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And then it's like your mindset is much calmer when compared to mine. It is like, okay, I need to have it. I must have it. And then it's like giving myself even more pressure, and then even doing stuff that are up to you. You just don't let of go. You don't let go of this control or need for to control, which there are some things, as you said, that you don't have control over. You moved to Germany and then you achieved your goal. So when you compare that version of Marianna who moved to Germany and you are there now and you started your semesters and you started studying versus what you thought that it's gonna be like, can you recall that it was like, okay, this is it, this is exactly the way I was imagining? How was that path for you when you compare? Or it was like more, I didn't know. I expected A, but actually I feel B. Or I expected A, but the situation, the way I see it, it's B. So can you make the
yeah.
comparison?
It was different, very different. Like, for example, the study itself, living here itself, was very cool when I came. It was a lot of emotional side because I missed my parents, I missed my boyfriend back in that time. So I cried a lot. I was very sad about it on one hand. On the other hand, I was excited about new things. And there was a part of me that was very stressed about the language because I passed the C1 exam and I was like, okay, I know this language. But when I came here, it was like, what? I don't understand people. I don't understand, like, it was very hard and stressful for me, like, language, I think, in the first
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, this is one point that for me was English, and then okay, I know how to speak English. I know, or I learn English, but then it's like when you come here and then you cannot understand people or different accent, and then you're
Yeah,
lost, and then
accents.
it makes you frustrated, and then you start doubting yourself. Do I really know actually how to speak this language or not? And
Yeah.
when it comes to studying and learning out of the books or making presentation, and you need to present in front of other classmates, then yeah, these situations is something that they're not easy, but also are situations from which you grow, I would say. When it comes to challenges, besides the language, what you recall as the main challenge for you, if you could give one, that was really tough for you upon moving to Germany?
The main challenge was before Germany, when I had to find universities, when I had to recognize all these requirements, when I had to send all my documents to all the universities I've chosen, and to get the replies if I have a positive or negative reply from the university. Like, I think before Germany was the most stressful, like, challenging time. And then when I came here, it was like so emotional because I was very excited. Everything was extremely new, extremely different to the Ukraine, new people. I'm alone in this country. Like, I'm alone in this country, sad side, but there's a lot of new interesting people, and I miss my parents, I miss my family, but there's a lot of new information, opportunities, so I was kind of overwhelmed with everything new. That's why it was a bit balanced, I would say. And the main challenge for me was the language, understand the program of the university, how you count all these credits, what you have to do, how this study look like in general, and what I have to do in order to make my master in the end.
Okay. And when it comes to the content, because you said that you were overwhelmed because there is so much new content on a daily basis, from starting from the city, the offers, new people, I guess WhatsApp group, hey, do you want to hang out here and there? Do you want to come here and there? Then it's coming with student tasks and presentations and studying and so on. And when you say you were overwhelmed, did you also have this struggle that you need to make a balance between having fun and enjoying the new content versus difficult emotions of missing family, being like everything new, but you feel overwhelmed, versus university task obligations, like students' obligations that you need to study? Was it hard for you to manage?
It was very different for me
Okay.
because I was extremely focused on the study,
Okay.
on the program, on subjects, on university tasks. And I told you before, I'm a pretty introverted person, and it's not easy, especially in a new language for me, to come up with new people. So I was very focused on the university tasks, on studying. I think first year I was like only studying. I took a lot of subjects. After 2 years, I made my master in 3 years, not in two. Like program is 2 years, but I did it in three. Like a lot of people extended. And I think only after 1.5 years, I was a bit more relaxed.
Then there is this transition period, like in the way you behave in the new environment, because you get
Yeah, it was
used
like
to,
this, okay,
you get
study
relaxed.
modus, and yeah, I have to do it. I was also stressed about the work and the money because I had money only for 1 year from my parents, and I knew I will not get for second year, so I have to find a job. And it was also like a bit stressful thing for me.
So at the moment when you graduated and you achieved your goal, so diploma is there, you finished university, and then you're Marianna, who is coming from Ukraine, and now the goal is achieved. And there is human need to see what's the next step, and then you get asked by your parents, by your family, by your cousins, by your friends, and then you need to figure it out. So there is this transition period between university and work. So you are someone who is successful because you achieved your goal and diploma is there. But diploma itself, it's not, yes, it's diploma, I achieved my goal, what now? What's next? So did you have this period of time to think, okay, I study design, and how to decide on the next step when it comes to work and transition between university life versus young professional life?
Yeah, very interesting. Your questions is completely different from my experience.
Okay.
And now I will break down all your questions because, as I mentioned before, I already worked in Ukraine as a designer.
Yeah.
And when I came to Germany, I got my first work after 3 or 4 months. After I came here, I worked on like a few hours for a small startup, parallel with my study.
That's
So
like a not full-time position, but like student work or
yes, it's like this 450 euro basis.
mini job.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's mini job, like 10 hours per month, I think. Yes, so I worked parallel with my university things, and then the small startup was bought by a bigger company, and all people who were in the startup transitioned to this company. So after 1 year of Germany, I already worked like a student work, let's say.
Yeah.
And due to the thing that I work in the IT, it was good paid for the student, and there wasn't that transition. There was like a very smooth transition. I worked already a lot, even more than 20 hours per week, and I used to it. So I did my master, and I just stayed in this company and worked the full time. So it wasn't like, okay, I finished my master, what should I do? I liked my job, and I just stayed there.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that not all people have the same struggles, especially when you get exposed to the professional life during studies. So then you get idea or picture of how it looks like to be working and not just studying. And then you kind of keep hope that you will have huge salary, basic position, and so then you get the piece of reality even during study. So you're not living in a bubble. And I think this is much better in systems such as German system, that people or students usually get some exposure to work versus, France versus Italy versus Spain versus Serbia. So when people are focused on studies and they work hard in achieving academic or pushing their academic achievements, with hope that it's going to be recognized tomorrow when they go to some employer, but then it comes with the personal wishes. So it's really nice to see your experience here about that, that it's like going step by step and then you don't have like a big transition or let's say some crisis.
I also can compare this because in Ukraine there's also more system like you are a student, you are focused on the study and you do not work. You will be supported by your parents. You are
Yes.
supported by your parents. And then after work back in Ukraine, I had this struggle. Okay, I finished my study and now I have no experience and no one want me because I have no experience. And yeah,
Which is kind of quite frustrating, I would say, because as a
definitely.
student wish or student desire, you go, okay, I study hard and then I have better grades and then I will apply tomorrow for some job. And then, but then you find the struggle, okay, but you don't have experience. Yes, hello, I just finished my studies or I'm finishing my studies. Of course, I don't have experience. So then there is this struggle, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was a very good thing that I started working parallel with my study here in Germany, and I would recommend to work as a student and in that field that you are study related to and you want to work after your study also in this area, in this field.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's something that I would recommend my younger self. But as I was changing systems, it's like quite difficult. But this is a great advice, and I think the German educational system really encourages this. And people are more independent. Students are more independent because they get exposure to this professional life, and then you get the taste of how it's to be working or to be in your field. Do you really like it? And yeah.
And I think it's a great opportunity here in Germany because you are not strict, you're not just, you have this 2 years of study. For example, it was in my university, the program was 2 years, but I was able to extend it. I was able to do it longer. So I wasn't so stressed to finish it in 2 years.
Yeah, just one question that now we are speaking about German educational system and I kind of really pointing out the biggest benefits actually of this educational system. But at the beginning you mentioned that back that time when your mother was proposing to you Germany and then you just accepted because there was no other option. And I said, wait, back that time I was not considering other opportunities besides Germany as a country. Would you nowadays say that back in, I don't know, some years ago, you would maybe consider some other countries?
Like, first of all, I wouldn't change anything because I like the person who I am now and I like all my path, all my experience that I have. But I always wanted to live in a sunny place. Germany is like kind of gray, gloomy country. And yeah, maybe I could choose like Spain or some sunnier country.
Okay.
Probably. But I don't know if it could be better or worse or I have no idea. So I can't judge.
Yeah.
It was like that and it's also cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's like you're not the first one pointing out this when we speak about studying in Germany and moving and living in Germany. So that's something familiar, but it's also something that we don't have control over. And it's, yeah, just up to our experience. And I think before moving to Germany, I even didn't know why some of my German friends would always point out how sunny it is and so on. And I was like, yeah, just sun. What's so special about it? But actually, once you come here and then you leave and you stay for some years, then you see, okay, yeah, it's a big thing. I like the part that you said, I wouldn't change anything. I like the person I am today. So one of my questions would be that if you went back, what would you change or what would you do differently? And then you already gave this answer. So let's say if I ask you, what are the biggest benefits of you moving and studying abroad and now living abroad, what would you say?
The whole experience to do it by myself, like everything. This is a pretty big goal, and now I'm here, and sometimes I'm underestimate all this effort that I did, all that experience, all this stress. I don't know, it was hard. And this all shaped me. Like also as a foreigner here in Berlin, it's better because almost every second person is a foreigner here in Berlin. But I used to live in Kiel, it's near Hamburg. Amazing people are there, and I didn't met in some racism and something like that. I had luck or I just was blind to it, I don't know. But this is also a thing. I do not feel now maybe a bit, but I didn't feel me at home here. And after 3-4 years living here, I didn't feel home in Ukraine too. So I was kind of between these two worlds. And I think this is a big impact on the personality, that you are kind of not stick to one place, but more open.
I completely get your point, but just the last part when you say you don't feel home here, but also when you go back to Ukraine for visiting or long vacation or whatever, is you don't feel home too. Isn't it a bit of identity crisis, or you ask yourself, okay, where is my home? Where do I belong to? Because speaking the language, local language of German, so German language, it's much easier because you don't feel like that. You feel more comfortable compared to when your language is a bit crunchy or you don't feel always comfortable. So knowing the language, it's definitely a big plus. But when you say that, okay, I'm already here 3-4 years and then I don't feel like really home, but also when I go back home, where it's like, so when you leave Ukraine, like you're in at the airport and the plane is taking off, did you come back home or you're leaving home?
I didn't feel home both. Now I can say, okay, here's my home. Especially after war started, my parents came here, and I feel home. Where are the people I love, and my like apartment, my small world? This is my home, I would say. That's why now it's here. And after 3 years being here, it wasn't like that. I don't know.
Yes.
It's only after 6 years, I would say, it became like my home.
And the big role plays that your parents actually moved to Germany after this situation in Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
So then your family is also close to you, so you have these needs fulfilled, like for familiarity and people's connection.
Yes, but I used to have like one period of time, a half year before war started. I was visiting my parents in Odessa in Ukraine, and I said to them, I'm so tired living here. I'm alone. I'm not feeling happy here in Germany, and I want to come back to Ukraine. And I was like desperate. I wanted to come back to Ukraine. But my father, my parents see all that effort that I did, and they were afraid that it would be like a mistake, that I will come back after all this effort, after finishing my study. I have a good job, I have the apartment, like I have all my life is good here, but I want to come back. And then my father said me, okay, I understand your wish, it's your life, you can do whatever you want, I will support you in all your decisions, but could you do something for me? Make me a favor. Just wait a bit, like half a year, let's say half a year. Just wait and see if this feeling go away or it will stay. If it will stay and you are sure 100% you won't come back, okay, I will support you. But just take a bit time. And yeah, it was like very good advice, because then after that half a year, war started, and I was so happy that I waited, because I had the opportunity to welcome my parents here, to support them here in Germany. And yeah, probably if I could come back before the war, I would have the same effort to come back again to Germany.
Yes.
And yeah, looking for a job again, like everything again.
If you were speaking, let's say, to Marianna, who is living in Ukraine, and then you say you have job, you have a good salary, you have your own flat, you have this, you finish your studies, you speak German, and then, but something is missing. Like, were you asking yourself what was missing? And then when you were telling this maybe to Marianna, who lives in Ukraine, I want to come back, and then you waited, and then like the situation kind of cleared out for you, but not because the situation in Ukraine staying the same, like the desire to go back, but it's kind of got worse, and that's why it was the emphasis on your life in Germany kind of increased, but not because this was still at the same point, but the desire or the situation in Ukraine, it's not the same level, but it went down, so the gap was higher, which made you make a decision to stay and then also support your parents, which was, I would say, the circumstance that helped you. But when you were in this moment, and besides the war and besides the situation that happened, were you asking yourself what was missing exactly, and did you figure it out at the end, what you were missing exactly, that you had the wish to go back, even upon having a great life in Germany?
I think I couldn't recognize, and even now, I think the place was wrong. When I came to Kiel to study, I knew from the first sight it's not my city. I don't want to stay here. And after study, I stayed there because of the job, and I wasn't happy. The city was small, it was not my vibe, and I don't know, I can't tell you what was missing really, but yeah, something was definitely wrong.
Yes, because you said that you wouldn't like to change anything because you like the person who you are today. Let's say that from this point, with the knowledge you have right now, what would you suggest to younger version of yourself, or who are actually the people watching and listening to this podcast, say, and they think, okay, she has an amazing life, and then she speaks German, she speaks English, she lives already a couple of years, she has a job, she has her flat, she lives in Berlin. Okay, I want that. So what would you suggest to younger version of yourself, or these people actually watching and listening to the podcast episode?
Do not stress out too much. Like, everything is possible. It's only the matter of time. So, of course, now I have a different challenges, and I also worry. I also have I'm anxious about some things. But now, when I look back, like, everything is possible if you want this. It's only the matter of time, and yeah, just be focused. Just work on that goal and wish that you have.
Thank you for being guest in my podcast and also pointing out your experience. And I think the mindset and with the actions you were taking and like the way you were behaving on that way, like on achieving your goal was much calmer. And it's really nice to hear about that experience, that not everyone is working under pressure. Okay, I have to do it. And then it's like, but really be consistent and still working. Thank you very much for sharing your experience and giving advices to people to this podcast episode.
Sure, it was very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Marianna. Thank you also to you all who watch and listen to this podcast episode. And if you're someone who is nowadays actually looking for his or her experience of how to move and start your studies abroad, please check out all the links below this video. Wish you a great week to everyone. Bye.